I still remember the way the world exploded that afternoon, like the heavens themselves had cracked open and spat fire. The gunshot ripped through the dry Wyoming air, so close it singed the hairs on my neck, the bullet burying itself in the parched earth just a boot's length from where I knelt, cursing under my breath at the splintered axle of my stagecoach. My heart slammed against my ribs like a trapped wildcat, every beat echoing the terror I've been fighting since I left Philadelphia behind. The blistering sun beat down on the endless plains, turning the Badlands into a furnace, and there I was, alone in this God-forsaken territory of 1872. With sweat stinging my eyes and dust kicking my skirts, I whirled around, my auburn curls tumbling loose from the pins I'd so carefully arranged that morning, my hands fumbling for the cold revolver, tucked in my belt, the one my late father had pressed into my palm before he drew his last breath. "Amelia, darling," he'd wheezed, his voice ragged from the consumption that took him. "The world's a hard place for a woman alone. This'll keep you safe, safe." The word mocked me now as I leveled the barrel at the hazy silhouette emerging from the swirling dust cloud, a rider on a sleek black Mustang, his form cutting through the crimson sunset like a shadow from hell itself. "You best halt right there, mister, or I'll put a hole clean through that fancy vest of yours," I hollered, my voice steadier than I felt, though fear clawed at my insides like thorns. I'd heard the tales back east of outlaws preying on lone travelers, of women vanishing into the wilds never to be seen again. But I wasn't some fragile debutante. I'd buried my husband to fever 2 years past, watched his strong frame waste away until he was nothing but bones and regrets. That loss had hardened me, turned my grief into a fire that burned away weakness. Yet here, in this vast, unforgiving land, I wondered if it was enough. The rider pulled up short, his horse snorting and pawing the ground, kicking up more dust that choked the air. He raised his hands slowly, palms out in a gesture that screamed mockery more than surrender. "Easy now, ma'am," he drawled, his voice deep and rough, laced with an amusement that set my teeth on edge. "If you'd wanted me dead, you'd have pulled that trigger by now. Ain't no need for bloodshed on a fine evening like this." He dismounted with a fluid grace that spoke of years in the saddle, his tall frame unfolding like a coiled spring. As he stepped closer, the fading light revealed a face weathered by sun and sorrow, a scarred jaw that told stories of knives or fists, piercing gray eyes that seemed to see right through my bravado, and a stubbled chin that added to his rugged allure. Broad-shouldered, clad in worn leather chaps and a battered Stetson pushed back on his head, he carried himself with the quiet confidence of a man who'd danced with death and come out the victor. Something in those eyes stirred an unfamiliar warmth in my chest, a flicker I quickly stamped out. Trust was a luxury I couldn't afford, not after the betrayals back home, the society matrons who whispered behind fans about the poor widow heart the headstrong for her own good. "Name's Wyatt Kane," he said, nodding toward my busted wheel without lowering his hands entirely. "Folks round here call me W.Y. Look like you're seen better days. Reckon I could lend a hand if you ain't set on shooting me first." I lowered the Colt a fraction, my arms aching from the tension, but I didn't holster it. Sizing him up, I saw no immediate threat, no holstered pistol drawn, no malice in his gaze, but the West had taught me quick that appearances were deceivers. "Amelia Hart," I replied curtly, my pride surging like a river after rain. "And I don't need no charity from strangers. I've managed this far on my own steam." He chuckled low, a sound that rumbled like distant thunder, and it irked me how it eased the knot in my gut just a touch. "No charity, ma'am, just neighborly. This stretch of trail's mean after dark coyotes, bandits, worse. You'd be doing me a favor letting me fix it, saving me the guilt of riding on and leaving a lady stranded." I hesitated, the weight of my journey pressing down. I'd fled Philadelphia's stifling parlors and pitying glances, where my husband's death had left me adrift in a sea of expectations to marry quick or fade into spinsterhood. But I craved more, a fresh start as the schoolmarm in Eagle Ridge, teaching young minds to rise above the dirt and drudgery. The stagecoach driver had abandoned me at the last outpost, muttering about full women and impending storms. Now, with night creeping in like a thief, practicality warred with caution. "Fine," I conceded, holstering the gun but keeping my distance. "But one wrong move, and you'll regret it." Wyatt nodded, pulling tools from his saddlebag, a hammer, nails, a length of rope with the efficiency of a man who'd fixed more than wheels in his time. As he knelt by the axle, his muscles straining under his shirt, I couldn't help but watch, my mind wandering to forbidden places. He was handsome in a raw, untamed way, Nothing like the polished gentleman back east who courted me with empty flattery. There was a depth to him, a quiet strength that tugged at the lonely corners of my heart. We talked as he worked, the conversation starting haltingly like a colt finding its legs. I told him of my husband's fever, how it had stolen him slow, leaving me with echoes of his laughter and a hollow ache that no amount of city lights could fill. I needed to breathe, I confessed, surprised at my own openness. Philadelphia felt like a cage. Out here, maybe I can make something real, teach kids to dream bigger than the mines or the ranches. He paused, wiping sweat from his brow, his gray eyes meeting mine with an understanding that pierced deep. Lost my brother in a range war last year, he said softly, his voice roughened by grief. Fought side by side against cattle barons trying to steal our land. He took a bullet meant for me. Been ranching alone since, trying to honor his memory. This land, it breaks you, but it heals too, if you let it. His words hung between us, a bridge over the chasm of our pains. For the first time in months, I felt seen not as the widow, but as Amelia, with her scars and her fire. As the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in fiery oranges and purples, he finished the repair, standing and dusting his hands on his chaps. That'll hold the Eagle Ridge, but night's combing fast. My ranch is just over yonder ridge, safe bed, hot meal. Segura Ramirez keeps things proper. I weighed his offer, the isolation of the trail versus the risk of trust. But something in his steady gaze, the way he'd shared his loss without pity, tipped the scales. All right, Mr. Kane, lead the way. The ride to his ranch was silent at first, my stagecoach creaking behind his Mustang, the cooling air carrying scents of sage and distant rain. But soon, words flowed again about the stars wheeling overhead, brighter than any city lantern, about the whispers of wind through the grass that sounded like forgotten prayers. He pointed out landmarks, a twisted juniper tree where he'd once outrun a posse, a creek bed dry now, but raging in spring floods. Each story peeled back layers, revealing a man forged by hardship yet clinging to hope. The Kane Ranch emerged from the valley like a beacon, its sturdy log cabin flanked by barns and corrals, horses nickering softly in the twilight. Smoke curled from the chimney, promising warmth against the chill settling in my bones. Segura Ramirez, a stout woman with gray-streaked hair and eyes sharp as a hawk's, met us at the door, her apron dusted with flour. "Wyatt, you bring trouble home again," she scolded in a thick accent, but her smile softened the words as she eyed me. "And who is this? Come in, nigga, before the night wolves get you." She bustled me inside, her maternal fussing a balm after weeks of solitude. The kitchen smelled of fresh tortillas and simmering on the stove, as she chattered nonstop about her late husband lost to a mining accident, about raising 3 sons who'd scattered to the winds. Men like Wyatt, they think they're islands, she confided as she poured me coffee. But even islands need the sea. Wyatt joined us by the fire after tending the horses, his presence filling the room like a storm cloud, intense, unpredictable. Over supper, we talked more, Segura Ramirez weaving in tales of the ranch's history, how Wyatt had built it from nothing after the war, fighting off claimed jumpers and droughts. "He's got a good heart, that one," she said, winking at me, just buried under all that Lone Ranger nonsense. As the evening wore on, the fire crackling like secrets shared, Wyatt's gaze lingered on me longer, his gray eyes holding questions I wasn't ready to answer. My heart fluttered, a traitorous thing, remembering the feel of his hand brushing mine earlier. Was this the start of something, or just the loneliness of the trail playing tricks? I pushed the thoughts away, focusing on the warmth of the hearth, but deep down, a spark had ignited a dangerous, beautiful thing in this wild land. That night, in the guest room, with its quilt smelling of lavender, sleep evaded me. I lay there, listening to the coyotes howl, my mind replaying the day's chaos, the gunshot, Wyatt's arrival, the shared confessions that felt like fate's hand. Grief for my husband mingled with a budding curiosity about this scarred rancher. Could a woman like me, scarred by loss and defying society's chains, find love in the shadows of these mountains? Or would the West swallow me whole? The question swirled like dust in the wind, pulling me into uneasy dreams where gray eyes promised both salvation and heartbreak. The next morning dawned crisp, the sun gilding the peaks in gold. Segura Ramirez pressed fresh bread into my hands as Wyatt saddled up to escort me to Eagle Ridge. "Watch yourself, nigga," she warned. "This territory chews up dreamers. But with a man like W.Y., maybe you chew back." As we rode out, the landscape awakening around us, deer grazing in the meadows, eagles soaring overhead, conversation turned intimate again. Wyatt spoke of his dreams for the ranch, expanding it to help orphans from the mines. His voice thick with passion. I shared my vision for the school, teaching not just letters, but resilience, defying the notion that women like me belonged in parlors, not classrooms. But as we neared a narrow pass, the air grew thick with tension. Hoofbeats echoed, not ours, and shadows moved on the rocks above. Get down, Wyatt barked, shoving me behind a boulder just as bullets hailed down. Rustlers, 3 of them, faces masked, guns blazing. My pulse thundered as Wyatt drew his 6-shooter, his body a shield, shots cracking like whips. He dropped one with a precision that spoke of battles past, his roar primal, muscles taut under his shirt. The second fell clutching his leg, the third fleeing into the dust dot in the aftermath. Blood staining the ground, I bandaged Wyatt's grazed arm, my fingers trembling on his skin. His touch lingered, warm and reassuring, eyes locking on mine with an intensity that stole my breath. You all right, Amelia? He murmured, his voice husky. I nodded, but inside, emotions churned fear, gratitude, and something deeper, a pull toward this man who'd risked everything for a stranger. As we pressed on to Eagle Ridge, the town emerging like a mirage with its saloons and mercantile, I knew my journey had twisted in ways I never imagined. Mayor Caldwell greeted us, a portly man with a mustache like a broom, praising my arrival, but eyed Wyatt warily. King here's a good man, but trouble follows him like a shadow. Settling into my schoolhouse quarters, whispers from townsfolk Mrs. Ellis the baker. Young Deputy Harlan with his slick smile tested me. A ladylike, retinue with that recluse, they muttered. But Wyatt's unexpected visit with wildflowers softened the sting. Our late talks by the lantern light weaving vulnerability. As the first school day loomed, rowdy pupils challenging my resolve, a blizzard howled in, trapping me. Wyatt braved it, nearly frozen, his arrival a spark in the cold. We confessed pains by the stove, my guilt over not saving my husband, his regret for his brother. Judgmental stares at community dinner pushed me to confront biases. Wyatt's defense igniting defiance. Weeks of discreet courting built tension. A stampede bringing danger, his strength averting catastrophe. My tending his wounds leading to our first kiss of fire that consumed doubts. Rumors of outlaw plots swirled. Wyatt confiding, our partnership testing trust. At a town dance, lies about his past forced my public stand, defying norms. Alone on a ridge, revelations healed wounds. A midnight raid saw Wyatt's gritty shootout, me saving him, victory deepening bonds. Tensions peaked with evidence of the mayor's treachery, argument pushing us apart. Harlan's kidnapping, my escape. Wyatt's savage dual rescue catharsis in a cave, vows reborn. Exposing treachery brought backlash, engagement shocking the town, support highlighting renewal. A flash flood forged resilience, wedding preparations intertwined with rebuilding. On wedding eve, a final ambush Wyatt victorious in a brawl. The ceremony sealed love conquering all. Years later, children and progress transformed Eagle Ridge. Our reflection under the sky proving hearts reborn.